What's going on, guys? It's New York Prepper here, and today I just wanted to do a video about the 5 C's of survival, or the 5 C's of survivability. And if you guys never heard of that before, that comes from Dave Canterbury. Dave Canterbury was a TV show survivalist on Discovery Channel. There was a TV show called Dual Survival in 2010, I think it started, and it finished around 2014. And he was one of the survival show hosts, and he kind of coined the term the 5 C's. Now, a lot of survivalists and preppers have had a lot of these items in their survival kits for a long time. So he didn't actually invent, these components, and he just coined the term the 5 C's, and he was the one that kind of made that popular. So in this video, I kind of want to just do a brief overview of what the 5 C's are and why they're important. And when you're building your bug out bag, your survival bag, your get home bag, anytime you go into the woods, if you're going hiking, hunting, backpacking, whatever, even just a short walk, these 5 elements here that you see in front of you should be in your backpack or on your person at all times. And especially if you have a bug out bag or a get home bag, or a go bag, whatever you want to call it, an emergency kit that that you're going to have to evacuate from a certain area. You should have your emergency kit should include these 5 items. With these 5 items, you can make a lot of things, and you can do a lot of things. And so, without further delay, I'm going to go into what the 5 C's are. All right. So here I have the first 5 C is container. Then we have cordage. Then we have cover, which is a tarp here. I have a cutting tool, which is my knife. This is my cutting tool, which is a knife. And then in here, I have combustion device, which is a ferrocerium rod that I can use to create sparks and start a fire. So I'm going to discuss each element now and why they're important. So this is just a cup that I have with my canteen. This is not mandatory as part of the 5 C's, but it's a smart idea to include it with your container. So here I just have a stainless steel canteen. I've done a review on this before. This is the Nalgene stainless steel canteen. It's 38 ounces, I think, or 33 ounces. I'm not sure. It's pretty much just over a liter. And why do you want to have a canteen with you, or container? You could either say cantener or a canteen or container. Cantener, that's funny. Either a canteen or container. And why do you want to have a container with you? Well, you need some kind of a steel container or steel canteen so you can boil water, okay, and cook food. And a container to boil water is important because if you're in a survival situation, or you're in a SHTF situation, a bug out, a get home situation where you're evacuating, you're not going to be able to carry 20 gallons of water on your back. You're going to have to at some point boil water and purify water to make sure that the water is safe, it doesn't have any pathogens. And boiling water is the best way to purify water. Boiling water is the only 100% guaranteed way to eliminate all pathogens from water, whether it's bacteria, viruses, or parasites. Some of the other methods like UV light, iodine, chlorine dioxide, bleach, water filters, they don't eliminate every single pathogen. Some of them eliminate certain pathogens and some of them don't. So a canteen or a container will help you boil water. It'll help you cook food. You can use this to collect things, so aside from just boiling water in this, you can also fill this with snow, and you can use your body heat to melt snow, which will, provide water for you. But it has to be metal, and it has to be a single wall meaning just one solid piece of steel, not a double wall like one of the insulated coffee cups or something, or a thermos. It has to be something that you can boil. You can put this on some type of a heat source, and it's not going to damage the container. So, the steel container is also very durable. And aside from just boiling water, I can use this to carry things. If I need to collect, blueberries or nuts or wild edibles, different, resources, I can put them in the container as long as I don't have water in it. So the first part, container, that's very important, and I try to get it so it's a 1 liter container or just around 1 liter. And the reason why I do that is if I'm using bleach or chlorine dioxide or iodine, I can measure exactly the right amount, because all of those chemicals that are used to purify water are designed for 1 liter increments. So if you get like right around 1 liter, then it's going to be perfect for measuring out the amount of chemicals that you need to add to the water in order to purify it. So container, that's the first one. And then I add a cup to it. With the cup you can, cook food, you can boil more water. You can do a lot of things with one of these simple cups. It's not mandatory as part of the 5 C's though. So moving on from the container, we're going to go to cordage. Okay, here I just have one of the paracord. I have some paracord here. This is a Titan paracord, and the Titan paracord is a little bit more higher strength than normal paracord. I think it's like 700 or 800 pounds breaking strength. Cordage is important because you can use this to create snares if you have to trap some small game, like squirrels, rabbits, small game like that. You can make snares with this. Obviously not with this thick rope. It's not going to really work. This rope is not going to work for a small animal. This rope might work for a larger animal like a deer or something like that, or coyote, but it's not going to work for a smaller animal. You can, with the 550 cord, you can cut this sheath off here, because this is just a sheath. Inside of the sheath is braided line, and each line, it's like, I think it's like 7 or 8 in this particular one. In this Titan paracord, I think they have like 7 or 8 lines inside, and each one of those lines probably has like 100 pounds breaking strength. So you can cut the sheath off, pull out the braids, and separate the braids into the individual cords inside the little strings, and you can use that for a variety of things. You can use that for fishing line. You can use that to sew and to repair clothing. You can use that for snares. And then the cord itself, when it's braided together like this and it's the full size, you can use it for a lot of things. You can use it for creating shelter. You can use it for, climbing in a worst case scenario. It's not recommended, but you can do it if you had to. You can use it, but primarily you can use it for shelter. If you need to erect some type of an improvised shelter, you can use it for a variety of different things. There's just so many uses for cordage. You can use it to make weapons if you have to lash together a spear or some type of an improvised weapon where you have to lash together different implements. There's so many things you can do. You can use this for a bow drill. You can use this for shoelaces. You could use this to lower things down or tie things up in a tree, especially if you're in bear country and you want to hide your supplies or something. So cordage is another essential item for survival after the container. And moving on from cordage, we have cover. And cover here, I'm not going to take it out, but I have this poncho with a camouflage pattern just like you see here. and the poncho, it provides cover for me because first of all, I can use the poncho. I can just wear it, and that'll keep me dry and keep the elements off of my body. You know, whether it's rain, ice, or snow, this poncho is going to do that for me. And this is also going to work as a shelter. It has grommets that are little holes that are cut into it, and I can use this cordage here to erect a shelter with this. You know, I can use this as a blanket. I could use this as a ground cloth if I need to keep myself dry, if I'm, you know, in a wet area or a snowy area and I need to lay down for the night or something. I can lay this down, but cover is important. And when you're choosing your cover, it should be waterproof or water resistant. I personally like this. I like to have a nice waterproof, durable poncho like this because it's camouflage, so I can also use it for camouflaging as well. So I kill two birds with one stone. I can cover myself and keep myself warm and dry. And then, you know, I can also, this also functions as camouflage because once I drape it over my body, you know, it's going to have this camouflage pattern and it's going to kind of break up my human outline. And then, like I said, you can use that for sheltering as well and making shelters, and also as a ground cloth. The next thing is going to be a combustion tool or combustion device. And here I just have a ferrocerium rod. If you guys don't know what a ferrocerium rod is, it's basically just a type of metal that has, you know, flammable agents inside of it. So when there's friction, you know, I can use this to start fires. Why do I have a ferrocerium rod? Because a ferrocerium rod is better than a lighter, in my opinion, because I can carry this pretty much anywhere and I have a guaranteed spark. You know, doesn't matter what the weather is. It could be wet, it could be cold, it could be dry, it could be hot. It doesn't matter. As long as I have something to scrape this with, I'm always going to have a nice hot spark. And as long as I have something dry that can catch the spark and catch fire, then I'm good to go. You know, I could even use a piece of my I can use lint. If there's no dry tinder around, I could use lint from my belly button, you know, and that will catch fire. I can pick lint off of my undergarments. I can cut, you know, some of my undergarments and create tinder out of it. In a worst case scenario, I can cut a small piece. I can find tinder in my environment that will catch a spark. So in my opinion, it's much better to have a ferrocerium rod than it is to have a lighter, if you could only choose one. So, but whether it's a ferrocerium rod or whether it's a lighter, you need some kind of combustion tool that's going to be able to start a fire for you. And why do you need a fire? A fire does a lot of things. A fire can keep you warm. A fire can cook food and boil water, which is critical if you don't want to get sick with parasites. A fire can be used to create smoke signals and signal rescue. A fire can be used to ward off predators, because a lot of predators are scared of fire and they're scared of smoke. So you can use fires to ward off predators like bears, lions, mountain lions, you know, things like that, wolves. So fire is essential, and you need a way to start your fire, a reliable way to start it. So I prefer this. This is a 6-inch by 1/2-inch ferrocerium rod that I bought online on eBay or Amazon. It was like probably $10, you know, and it's just the raw, you know, rod itself. And then I just took some paracord here and they tied it. They have a little hole in the top. I tied it to, and I have a little striker here which has some measurements on it for my map. It's a 1 to 100,000 measurement here if I want to measure my kilometers on a map. It's a map scale, and then on the other side I just have some centimeters here, and you know, and then a little wrench there. So, you know, some type of combustion tool. And then finally, I leave the best for last. I'm sure you guys are probably wondering what my cutting tool looks like. So here I have my cutting tool, which is this is a Benchmade. I've done a review on this knife before. You can see the logo, Benchmade, made in the USA. I really like Benchmade knives. They're very good quality. They use good steels. This knife in particular has a 154 cm 154 cm steel, which is a very good stainless steel. It's very corrosion resistant, but it's also very strong. It has a lot of toughness and a lot of hardness. And so this is my cutting tool, and you know, I have a nice lanyard on it. Keep it on my hand if, you know, for whatever reason I don't want to drop it. If I'm doing a cutting tool or something or whatever. On the back I have a pommel here that I can use to pound things, or for self-defense I can strike somebody with this. I have a finger cut out in this knife that I can use if I need to choke up and do some more fine tasks, like if I'm bushcrafting or if I'm skinning an animal, or you know, butchering, or you know, gutting an animal. You know, I need to choke up and, you know, do some more finer work. And so your cutting tool is important, because you know, your cutting tool is going to help you to do a lot of things. It's going to help you defend yourself against predators, whether it's two-legged or four-legged. It's going to help you perform various survival chores like processing wood, creating kindling and tinder. You can use a cutting tool for a variety of things. You know, I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but you know, it has a lot of uses. I could even use the back of the knife here to strike my ferrocerium rod if I need to create a spark with it. You know, I can use the back of my knife. It's not recommended because it could damage your knife, but I can use the back of my knife as well to strike my ferrocerium rod. And you know, when you get your cutting tool, you want to make sure you have a nice 90-degree spine on the end of your knife, so you can use that spine, that sharp edge, to strike your ferrocerium rod. But you don't want to do that on a regular basis because it will take some metal off of your knife. So you're better off just buying a striker like this for $2, you know, on eBay, and you can buy like a 10-pack of them. So, you know, cutting tool, like I said, self-defense, processing firewood, skinning game, processing food, you know, cracking open coconuts, you know, whatever you can think of, cracking open, you know, nuts, you know, if we're talking about SHTF, then we're going to talk about, you know, possibly a lot of use with the cutting tool would be for forced entry and for self-defense. If you need to gain entry into an area, you can use this as a pry bar. You know, you can use the back here of your knife, you know, to break glass. So cutting tool is the last of the 5 C's. So I'm going to just quickly sum up all of them. So we got container, cordage, cover, combustion device, and cutting tool. Those are the 5 C's of survival. And you know, if you're building a bug out bag or a get home bag, you should always build it around these things. You know, with these 5 things here, I can pretty much do anything. I can survive anywhere. I can start a fire. I can boil water. I can create a shelter. I can stay dry. I can defend myself. I can catch fish. I can make snares. I can signal for rescue. I can make smoke signals. I mean, I can gather water with this, you know, my cover. I can use this to gather rainwater. There's just so many things you can do with these 5 things right here. And all together, this doesn't really weigh that much. You know, you got my knife here is probably, you know, about a pound. And then, you know, this canteen empty is about a pound or so, pound and a half. And then filled with water, you know, 1 liter. So all these things together, you're looking at maybe 4 pounds, if that. And, you know, for the weight to benefit ratio, you get a lot of things out of these 5 implements here. And this is not a lot of money that goes into this. The container and the cup, probably $50. You know, this roll, this is a 75-foot roll of paracord, Titan paracord. Costed me, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks. So we're up to $60. You know, this here was, you know, 20, 30 bucks. So, you know, probably around 100 now. And then we got the knife and and this, maybe, you know, the knife was expensive, but you don't need to have an expensive knife. You can get a cheap knife for 50 bucks, you know. I have some other beater knives that I use more for like woods use. This is my SHTF knife, so I keep it in pristine condition. But, you know, you're probably looking at probably $150 to $300 for the 5Cs. And it sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not that much. And, you know, when you think about the benefits that you get, you know, for survival. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my explanation of the 5Cs and why they're important. And I hope that you include them in your bug out bag. And that, you know, you build your survival kits around the 5Cs, because these are the basic foundational elements of any survival kit. You know, without these things, you're not going to be maximizing your survival potential. You know, this right here, the 5Cs are your foundational elements of any survival kit. This is what everything should be built off of, this right here. And so this is like your pillars. You know, if you remove the pillars, the building is going to collapse, you know, so you need to have your pillars here. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care, God bless, and don't stop prepping.